And I'm wishing you some peace on this beautiful Friday because you deserve it. Today, we're going to be talking about the freedom of forgiveness. Now, it's not always, let me restate that, it's very hard and almost impossible for most people to admit they're wrong, yet alone forgive someone else when the other person is wrong, when the other person can't admit that they're wrong. Now, I've been struggling with this issue, or I struggled with this issue for a while, where I was wanting forgiveness from somebody, but I didn't have the, how do you say, I didn't really have the ability to go and talk to them about it. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. So I'm going to actually share a personal story with y'all today about basically my journey of freedom and forgiveness, and hopefully you can learn from it and implement some of it into your life. Now, I had an experience with forgiveness. I'm still currently working through it, but it had started when I had this built up. It was definitely something that was into like my psyche and my behavior, that was in there subconsciously that I had completely forgotten about, because sometimes in life you don't have time to work through it. You just move on. You don't necessarily have the tools nor the time to sit there and wonder what's up or try to fix things. And that had really impacted me for the longest. And today I am free of it. I speak it into existence. I no longer suffer from that. And I'll basically run down what had happened. So, I do not use cannabis at this moment, but when I was younger, I did use cannabis. I experimented with a lot of things. I'm honest about that. I'll be vulnerable and put that out on the table. I'm not perfect, nobody is. Um, and coming from a military household, it wasn't something that was really looked on in a positive light. Now things are kind of different in people's eyes, but there was definitely a negative stigmatism towards it, and I can kind of get that coming from my parents. Um, but I was more confused why I couldn't use cannabis. Especially, I think the conversation went, I was out on the back porch with my parents, and they had gotten on to me about using cannabis and how I shouldn't use it, and they were sitting out there drinking wine. Um, and I've tried to bring this up multiple times to them, but every time I do, they just act like they don't have a clue of what I'm talking about, which is usually that's common when, I don't want to say like victim, but when the perpetrator usually doesn't remember their wrongs, or even if they do, they don't want to tell themselves that they were wrong, because that might shatter their self ego or whatever it is. Um, and I had basically, um, I had asked my mother. I said, "Hey, like, I I can't use cannabis to wind down and relax at the end of the day, but you crack open a bottle of wine, and that's way worse for you. Cannabis is a natural plant. Alcohol is pretty much man-made in all instances." And they didn't really like that response. I think it went to something like, "Oh, well, I work," or something like that, and I probably said something smart ass back. And my dad got up and slapped me across the face. Um, Pretty sure it was open handed, so y'all don't have to worry about that. But it was very, very difficult to process that, because all I was doing was expressing my own opinion, and it made it very, very difficult for me to express that opinion, to express my own opinion to anyone. And I kind of like started to conform into trauma groups, like, oh, a bunch of people are bonding over this, I'll go with them. um, which I made some really bad friends and acquaintances that way. And I do forgive myself now, looking back at it. Um, but I also have to forgive my father for putting his hands on me then, when all I did was express my opinion. And it does kind of make my blood boil to a bit, but I'm still actively working on that. Now, as far as having the conversation, that's a whole different story. I'm more working over just getting over the self-regret of, oh, why didn't I do it? Like, I didn't have the tools at the time to basically sit there and be like, I'm right, and I could have stood up and whooped his ass back, but I didn't have the tools, nor I was not taught basically how to stand up for myself. And this was a reoccurring thing through my childhood, not with my parents. I'm not saying I had bad parents. My parents, they were pretty good. And it also happened when I was younger. So my dad's dad is a preacher, and he was basically talking about something about how God put man here 6,000 years ago. I said, well, what about evolution? And yeah, we didn't really have a good connection on that. He hated my guts after that. He said, I don't believe in evolution. I said, do you believe in adaptation? Like, you stay outside for a long time, your skin gets a little darker, and you develop more freckles? He said, yeah. I said, well, what's multiple adaptations over a long period of time? That's evolution, right? Yeah, he didn't like that. Called me a dick, or called me a dildo. Basically cast me out from the family. I had all my older cousins always, they would come and fuck with me and punch me and do a bunch of other shit. And anytime I said help, they'd be like, oh, shut up, Eli, you're just being a crybaby. So I kind of had to carry that with me. Like, oh, anytime I express myself, it's going to have negative repercussions. And again, I had that experience with when I was on the porch with my parents. But I will suffer not anymore from this. I am free to express myself and my opinion just as you are. You are valuable. You are enough. You deserve to be treated with compassion and respect in all matters. Your opinion matters, and you are free to express it how you want without any repercussions, especially physical. Because the worst thing you can do, or let's just say that's a shitty thing to do, when someone expresses themselves and expresses their opinion, their own intellect, and because you disagree with it, you put your hands on them. That is, I definitely say I lost my respect for my father after that, and led to a bunch of different things. But I am working on becoming free now, and I'm being as vulnerable as I can right now. It's kind of uncomfortable to talk about, because I'm putting this out for everyone to see, but I feel like this might help you a little bit. Someone out there is probably going through something similar. There's a younger version of myself that is probably going through that right now, that hasn't learned what I've learned. So you have to forgive. You have to feel free. You have to allow yourself to let go and forgive, not because they deserve the forgiveness, but because you deserve the peace, which you do. You are worthy. You are enough. You are strong. You are capable. You are competent. You got this. Okay? You have always had this. All right? You're doing a great job. I just want to say I am very excited and very proud. I don't like the word proud, but I'll use it right here. I'm very proud of you, and I'm excited to see how far you will go in your journey. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep it up. Now, I am very grateful for all of you being here, and I just want to state that without y'all being here to be a listening ear, none of this would be possible. I'm finding more ways to forgive, and you can't really forget, unfortunately, through life. You can't forget, but that's also a beautiful thing in itself, because now you can't forget, you can remember, and you can learn, so you don't make those same mistakes, which nobody's perfect. I don't put all the blame on my father or my mother or my grandfather for any of this, because I get nobody's perfect, and we're all going through our first run at this whole life thing. Although there are certain things that it's kind of like common sense. Like, if your parents put their hands on you, and then you're going to go and put your hands on your kids, it kind of seems like you would have learned, and at that point, it's not really faultless. But at the end of the day, nothing's anybody's fault, and we are all existing. Now, You create the version of yourself that you want to be. You wake up every day and say, this is who I am. It doesn't matter who I was yesterday. It doesn't matter if I was scared to fucking voice my voice 2 days ago, 2 years ago, fucking 2 decades ago. It doesn't matter. Because now you have the freedom to create yourself. Okay? And you matter. You got this. I'm very appreciative of you being here. Your presence makes the world a phenomenally better place. And like always, light, love, peace, and positivity your way, because you deserve peace. You deserve positivity in your life. You deserve prosperity in all aspects. And you're doing a great job, okay? You are. All right. Now, I appreciate you coming here. I get that I didn't really give too much information of how to kind of forgive, because I'm still working through it, but I just wanted to share that experience. Now, I think it's important to set boundaries. Like, okay, I'm not really going to be out here breaking my back for people that don't even want to acknowledge me or acknowledge my side of the story. And also, you know, it's good to attempt to communicate that, but at a certain extent, you can't control other people, and you have to manage what's in your control. You have to take control of what you can control before it ruins what you can't. So, in lack of better words, it's basically you have to control your own mind, your own temple, before it ruins your life. Because the sad thing about trauma, it can sit deep in your mind and you don't realize that you have to work through it to become calm and have peace. Because we're not supposed to have nightmares. We're not supposed to be disturbed in our sleep. When we go to sleep, we're supposed to have peace. But when you have these nightmares and all these other shit that pops up, you know, it fucks with your energy and how you operate as a being itself. And it's not a journey like, boom, you just forgive them and it's gone. It's an active step of, like, not just forgiving the other person, but allowing yourself to be accepted for all versions of yourself. You have to accept the version of yourself that didn't speak up for yourself. The version of yourself that didn't stand up and knock somebody out when they did something disrespectful to you. You have to accept that. And it's okay not to be, you know, all of that right then and there, because you didn't have the tools. All right? You're amazing. You got this. And I'm very grateful for you being here, and it was a pleasure talking to you. And until next time, Eli out.